Sportz Blitz Live is on the air. News, scores, predictions. Sportz Blitz Live, the most comprehensive sports talk show in Alabama, with your hosts Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee. Call 800-782-0108. Auburn. Alabama.
Touchdown!
And the latest in high school sports. It's Sportz Blitz Live. Now. Brought to you by S&S Discount Tire and JR's Sports Bar and Grill. Sportz Blitz
Luke
Live.
Robinson here with you on Sportz Blitz Live. Thanks for being with us tonight. Scott Hardy will be with me shortly. He's making his way over here from the Lake Martin Sports Roundup at JR Sports Bar and Grill. JR is, of course, the title sponsor for all things Sportz Blitz. Want to thank everybody over there for helping us bring you this programming. Got a huge show tonight. Tons of stuff to talk about, no doubt about it. Of course, it's always that way when it's college football season. You've got Alabama, you've got Auburn, all the SEC, tons of things going on in college football. The Penn State situation, the Ray Rice situation, high school football, anything you want to talk about, we will be glad to talk to you about it. You can give us a call. Our phone number is right there on the screen. Give us a call anytime. We would love to hear from you. Of course, we're going to have John Garcia on from Scout.com here in just a little bit to talk about some of the prospects in the state of Alabama. He's going to give us a rundown on some guys that maybe aren't even going to Alabama or Auburn, but they're very good prospects. I know there was one today, Amonte Cabin from Smith Station, who made a commitment to an out-of-state school, and we'll tell you which one as soon as John Garcia joins us here in just a little bit. We'll also have Andy Graham on as well, just like we do every single Tuesday. He will be on with us to give us the Auburn Blitz. Andy, of course, is one of the co-hosts of Sports Call out of Auburn, so he will have all the inside scoop on the Tigers. There's no doubt about that. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sportz Blitz Live. Hang with us. Scott Hardy will be with me next.
On Tap is brought to you by Hyundai of Auburn. You owe it to yourself. Call Hyundai of Auburn today at 334-321-0777 and visit them online at HyundaiofAuburn.com.
So, you may not know it, but you've seen our work everywhere. For a combined 50 years, SignSource has been Central Alabama's premier option for all your sign needs. Custom signs for your business, club, or organization. Wraps and decals for your vehicle or boat. Full-color banners for your big sale, or a photo collage on canvas for grandma. All with fast, friendly, prompt service. Check out our website at signsourcenow.com. 888-533-6758. Go straight to the source. SignSource.
Welcome to ASA, a full-service salon and spa that caters to men, women, and children. Our product lines are Redken, Keratin, Sahag, and Moroccan Oil. We have 8 master color specialists, a skin esthetician, a licensed massage therapist, and a licensed nail technician.
We have introduced the Keratin Smoothing Treatment. It is perfect for all hair types, and it reduces frizz up to 95%.
From the time you arrive until the time you leave, it is our goal to exceed your expectations. Please call ASA Salon and Spa for all of your styling needs.
Lake Martin Washington Details, 734 on Airport Drive here in Alexander City. Phone number 256-749-6351. Remember now, they do offer gift certificates. They can do just a regular wash or a complete detail. They go that extra mile, and of course they use quality Alabama Auto Magic products. They're family owned and operated. Again, give David a call. They'll be happy to pick up and deliver that vehicle right back to your job site too. The good folks there at Lake Martin Wash and Detail.
What is LMG? It's a team of professionals with the tools to create a successful marketing plan to help your business grow. LMG has successful designs that get results for the individual and the business. We provide signs of all types, screen printing and embroidery, promotional products, web design, audio and video production, and much more. LMG has 3 locations to serve you in Alex City, Dadeville, and the Auburn Opelika area. Call us at 888-533-6758.
S&S Discount Tire on Cherokee Road in Alex City is the Lake Martin area's largest volume tire dealership and a place for everything mechanical. Weary and the S&S Tire crew are ready to serve you with double the capacity from routine oil changes to full engine overhauls and all transmission work. S&S Tire can handle it all. That's S&S Tire on Cherokee Road. Call David or Weary today at 256-215-8822. Visit S&S Discount Tire at 224 East South Street in Dadeville, now in 2 locations.
Lake Winds Golf Course, the most affordable, quality round of golf in Central Alabama. Located right off Highway 280 on County Road 40 in Alexander City, Lake Winds Golf Course offers affordable memberships, an updated pro shop, junior golf program, annual tournaments, and weekly matches. Call for your tee time today, 256-825-9860. Lake Winds Golf Course.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Alex City Marine, the Lake Martin area's premier new and used boat and motor dealership. Find out more at alexcitymarine.com.
Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson along with Scott Hardy now. Scott, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well, doing well.
Thanks for being with us. Of course, Scott knows a lot about the local high school scene, and we're going to get into that certainly here in this segment of the program. We'll be talking a lot of high school football. Get your phone calls in if you'd like to discuss. Phone number right there on the screen, 256-234-6464, 256-234-6464. Scott, what stands out to you this past weekend from high school football locally?
Well, Benjamin Russell, the team we cover here locally in Alexander City, they go and they play Opelika and they lose 23-0. Well, Opelika comes to Alex City, but it was a game where I was a little more impressed with Opelika than I thought I was going to be. But it was also something where kind of what happened against Auburn, where they got out to a big first half lead and they weren't able to really do anything in the second half. Benjamin Russell held them to under 10 yards in the third quarter, but turnovers bit them late on. But Benjamin Russell, a team that's probably going to go forward if they continue to do what they have been, and that's been able to just move the ball and limit their turnovers. They're a team that could probably go 8-2, 9-1 the rest of the way. But Dadeville starts out 0-2. They lose region matchup against Beauregard. I don't think many people expected that. Now, not to take anything away from Beauregard, but they were a team that Dadeville thought that they would be able to take care of, especially for a team that's looking to compete for a state championship. But they lose 14-12, kind of similar to what Benjamin Russell's problem is they don't necessarily have a scoring threat. Last week against Reeltown, they lose. They don't score any points. They get blanketed, and this week they score 12. So a team that's been used to having a lot of scoring options have been limited this season, as well as Benjamin Russell. But that's kind of what has stood out so far locally.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Beauregard. I'm going to talk about them in just a second when I go over some of our players of the week. But Beauregard now is in our local area, I guess you'd say, at least for Sports Blitz. And so happy to see Beauregard doing well. They certainly have a great coach, and Coach Carter over there, he's fabulous. And I think they've got some big things coming up. And Opelika is also in our local area now, and they look tremendous. And I know that I'm putting probably too much stock in the fact that I saw them in the Champions Challenge in a game that doesn't even count in the standings, mind you. But I thought Opelika looked like a surefire contender in 6A. I think they certainly have a shot to win it all. We have a phone call. We're going to go ahead and take that. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Sorry that they must have hung up, so we will go back to high school football here for just a second. But going back to Opelika, they have a quarterback in Matthew Christian, whom I love. I've said it a few times on this program. Doesn't have the best feet in the world, doesn't have the best arm, the best speed, none of that. He's not going to top out any of those categories, but he's very good in all of them. He's very, very smart. Love what he brought to the table for the Carver game when they won that game in the Champions Challenge. I thought he did okay the other night, but you don't have to be great. When you've got Quandeski Whitlow back there, a commitment to South Carolina, and the rest of that defensive front, and their linebackers are great too, you can do a lot of things. It's scary to think this same defense for Opelika had Roberts last year, the cornerback that's moved on to Auburn now.
Yeah, and again, though, not to slight anything Opelika did, and I was impressed, especially in the first half, but Benjamin Russell, a team that had 5 turnovers, Opelika had 2, they blocked 2 punts, so that's something that give credit to Opelika on that point. But going forward, I don't see many teams left on the schedule for Opelika where I think that they struggle. Outside of Spanish Fort, I think they're probably the best team in 6A. And you mentioned the Champions Challenge. I thought that was going to be a really big test for them, and they go out and play well in that game. So that was a good, I guess, momentum and tempo starter for the season. But going forward, it's can they keep it going? Because that's something that has plagued them, although they do make it to the championship game a couple of years ago, and they play Hoover, and that was one of the most packed it's been ever, and that was because they had a local, I guess, team there. And I think going forward is with the classifications the way they are now, a community like Opelika, and Randy's mentioned it before, they have the opportunity to start going to more state championships now with Hoover moving out, although they have been struggling as well.
Well, we can't talk about Opelika without talking about Auburn and their struggles. I mean, they just look really abysmal and unfocused right now. I don't know another way to put that. They can certainly get it turned around. They've got plenty of talent. There is no doubt. However, they've already lost to Opelika this year. They were embarrassed, I don't know another way to say it, by Central Phoenix City this past weekend, 47-17. Central Phoenix City, to me, is a real dark horse candidate to win it all this year. Coach Jamie DuBose does a fabulous job. We've had the opportunity to work with him several times with the AHSA radio network. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 coaches in the state of Alabama, and he has turned around that program very, very quickly. They've got a couple of athletes there, one Travion Samuel, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and he's a kid that's going to get a lot of looks. They got a guy named John Broussard, a cornerback, who's also very good. He's being looked at by LSU, Alabama, Auburn. They've just got a bunch of guys on that team that can really move. In fact, when we talked to him at the Champions Challenge, I remember his eyes lit up when we started talking about this team, because you could tell he's never had this many athletes to work with before. What an incredible collection of guys. Everybody's always thought Central Phoenix City has all the ingredients to make something happen, but you got to actually bake that cake, and I think Jamie DuBose is just the guy to make that happen. Of course, Spanish Fort, they are just keep moving right along. They're probably arguably the top program in the state right now overall, I would say. They've won, 27 games in a row, I believe it is.
They've been unstoppable.
And Spanish Fort moved to the top of the Birmingham or AL.com Power 20. So Spanish Fort, a team out of Mobile, AL.com and the Birmingham side of it sometimes going to be a little bit biased towards the Birmingham side, and that's okay. But Spanish Fort, they moved to the top of this list. Clay Chalkville, they go from number 1 to number 2, and Hoover is still at number 3 at 1 and 2. That tells you the respect Hoover has earned over the years. They finally get a win over Mountain Brook, but they don't look that great in beating them 12-0.
Yeah, they've struggled, and that's something you didn't expect, but I'm sure as the season progresses, they'll get things straightened out, and that's still a team I think you look forward to seeing in the playoffs, making another run there. But you mentioned Clay Chalkville. That's another team I think that's right up there with Opelikas and the Spanish Forts of a team that definitely has an opportunity to make a run at a state championship. They benefit from staying in the Class 6A classification. So that's another one of those teams, like I said about Opelika, finally now getting some breathing room and having an opportunity to compete.
I want to talk more about this AL.com Power Poll in just a second, but I need to go over the Players of the Week for this week. I know we have some graphics for that, so Daniel, if you'd put those up for me. The HSA Radio Network Player of the Week is sponsored by Russell Do-It and Building Supply Stores. And first of all, Valley High School's Montrevious Trey Williams rushed 18 times for 198 yards. Friday night as the Rams beat Oxford 25-21. Williams had 175 yards and all 3 scores in the fourth quarter as Valley battled back from a 21-3 deficit to secure the victory. What a huge win for Valley right there. And to come back down 21-3, that's a huge deal because Oxford has been a very powerful program, especially of late. So Valley, congratulations there. The Lee County Player of the Week, sponsored by Rudalisa Anderson and Cruz Planners, is the Beauregard defense. We talked about it just a second ago. What a huge night for the Hornets as they limit Dadeville to just 140 yards of total offense and 6 first downs on the night as Beauregard defeats Dadeville 14-12. So congratulations, Beauregard. You certainly earned that. And that's a big deal. I know Dadeville's had their offensive struggles. I know they were shut out the week before against Reeltown. Still, Dadeville's got some weapons, and if they ever put it all together, this victory is going to look very good on Beauregard's schedule. Finally, the Lake Martin Player of the Week, sponsored by Lee Marketing Group. That is Reeltown's Arico Stewart, who had 72 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns as Reeltown down Lafayette 28-13 on Friday night. And Reeltown, they just keep rolling right along. Coach Jackie O'Neill, he'll be on our scoreboard show here, I believe, this Friday. So looking forward to interviewing him. He is a fantastic guy. This is his final season, Scott. State of Alabama will certainly miss Coach Jackie O'Neill. He has been a fixture of success in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, and I appreciate what he's brought to the table. And again, start the season with a big victory against Dadeville, and now doing the same thing this week. And Arico Stewart is a player that last year they missed him some. He only played half of the season with an injury, but he comes back this season, and if he stays healthy, that's a team that I would look forward to be in Jordan-Hare come December.
Let's go ahead and get to our next break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more AHSA, maybe some games coming up this weekend, talk a little bit more about this power poll on AL.com. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on Sportz Blitz Live.
Which hotel is the best value?
Which one do you think I should buy?
Buying a car is a big thing. They cost a lot and you own it for years. You need to compare Hyundai of Auburn for your peace of mind. Discounts, cash back, got them at Hyundai of Auburn, and America's best warranty. Plus, we just received Hyundai's President's Award with the second highest customer satisfaction among like dealerships in the entire country. So if being treated right is important, we'll see you soon. Hyundai of Auburn, you owe it to yourself.
In a world that's ever-changing, you have to be sure that your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a 4-year college or university, or being a part of our national championship winning traditions, get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of our 3 convenient locations: Alex City, Childersburg, and Talladega. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you, central to your success.
Don't you know there's no clean like Peaches and Clean?
Wow, your carpets look fantastic.
Yeah, thanks to Peaches and Clean.
They look new again.
They also clean my kitchen tile.
Simply amazing. I'm calling Peaches and Clean today.
Just call 502-5326. Oh yeah, they have an area rug cleaning facility too.
Peaches and Clean is now expanded to the Alexander City Lake Martin Market. Give them a call at 334-502-5326.
Call us up at Peaches and Clean.
This gal wrote, "I am obsessed with Zaxby's yummy fried pickles. Is that wrong?" Well, Lisa Campbell changed her profile picture. Ma has a saying, "A fried pickle a day keeps the cravings away." She is a wise woman.
Those pickles ain't gonna pick themselves.
Mean as a hornet, though.
It's fried pickle season. Lightly breaded, fried to perfection, served with ranch dressing. Enjoy them before the crop's gone. Zaxby's, indescribably good.
It's always something. Your car needs a new tire, tuition is due. It's down to the wire. Cheerleading outfits, soccer shoes, football pads, or annual dues. Nellie's in band. She needs a trombone. Good golly Molly, you need a loan. Jimmy broke his arm. He needs a cast. You need money, and you need it fast. When life comes at you, Always Money can help you through. It's easy, convenient, friendly, and fast. You'll get the cash you need the day you need it. So because it's always something, remember Always Money. How much can we loan you today?
What is LMG? It's a team of professionals with the tools to create a successful marketing plan to help your business grow. LMG has successful designs that get results for the individual and the business. We provide signs of all types: screen printing and embroidery, promotional products, web design, audio and video production, and much more. LMG has 3 locations to serve you in Alex City, Dadeville, and the Auburn Opelika area. Call us at 888-533-6758.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Russell Do-It Center, offering a complete assortment of lumber, building materials, electrical, and plumbing supplies. Russell Do-It Center stores deliver first-class service, top-rate products, and competitive do-it-best pricing.
Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson along with Scott Hardy here. Still going in our high school segment of the program. Give us a call, 256-234-6464. Would love to hear from you if you want to tell us anything about the high school games this past weekend or what high school games you have coming up. There are some big ones coming up. I know we'll talk about that in just a second. But first of all, I want to talk about the Alabama Sports Writers Association's top players of the week. First of all, how about Brandon Baines of Tallahassee High School? He rushes for 383 yards. He has rushing touchdowns of 70 yards, of 34 yards, and 88 yards. Also has a kickoff return, 85 yards for a touchdown. If memory serves, while I was doing the scoreboard show, I heard he had 400 all-purpose yards at the half.
I mean, that's super impressive, and he's been doing it the entire season. He's going to break all type of records this season. He's very talented, and Tallahassee has a gym there, but the thing that makes him so effective is his ability to score on big runs. Like you said there, his yards per carry average has to be 16 yards from the season. He's been doing an excellent job. But, Luke, I think we have a caller.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take that. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going today?
Hey, this is Bo, man.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, man. You know I'm an Auburn fan, but, I hope y'all do good until you get behind, Bo.
Well, thank you. You've got an Auburn fan sitting right beside me, though, so all hope is not lost.
Hey, it's all good, man. Anyway, would you talk about the Leeds Greenway, man?
Yeah, I mean, Leeds is another team that's just right there. They are in the AL.com power poll that we've been talking about all night because the rankings hadn't come out yet, so we can't really discuss that. But Leeds is number 14 in this poll, which is a huge deal considering they're in a lower classification than most every other team on this list. In fact, I dare I say, at one glance, it looks like Leeds is far and away the only team in here from one of the lower classifications. Leeds is just fabulous. They've already beaten Madison Academy this year. They've got so many talented players. And Marshall, one of the athletes on that team, I know he was at Alabama this past weekend. They're taking a look at him. They've got about 3 or 4 prospects on that team. Leeds is going to be tough to beat.
Yes, sir. Trey Nation.
Trey Nation for sure.
What's his name? Jamal Lockhart.
That's right.
Yeah, he's good too. All right, I appreciate it, man. God bless.
Listen, I appreciate you calling in. Thanks, Bo. Bo calls about every week. Appreciate that. I know he's a big Leeds fan, and we will get to see Leeds in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I don't think I'm going out on a limb predicting that Leeds will be right there in the state championship game.
Yeah, and again, a team that I think has a good opportunity to give them a fight is Dayville, but they're going to have to get their offensive struggles together in order to do so. Leeds, as you said, beats Madison Academy on ESPN on national TV, and that in itself is a big deal to me when you have 3 and 4A teams playing against each other, not a big Hoover school or your 6 or 7A schools. You had a 3 and 4A. Both of those programs very successful, but Leeds hands it to them, and if they continue to play like that, as you say, it's going to be tough for anybody else to
Let me talk about the special teams defensive player of the week from the Alabama Sports Writers Association. That was Thomas Espy from Eufaula, who will be playing Benjamin Russell this weekend, and he had 3 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown, 1 in the final minute of the game to seal the 19-12 victory against Sidney Lanier. Here's the good news from BRHS. They had to seal a victory against Sidney Lanier. Sidney Lanier hadn't been very good as of late. When I was growing up in my high school days, Sidney Lanier was one of those Montgomery teams that was always in the mix, along with Robert E. Lee and Jeff Davis. And my high times have changed. Yeah, and as you said, Sidney Lanier hasn't been a team that's been very successful. None of the Montgomery schools or your traditional powerhouses that you're accustomed to have been doing that great. But Eufaula wins 19-11, and you look at the score and you look at it, if you're Benjamin Russell, and you would hope that you're able to put up some points. As I said, they haven't been doing that great of a job of necessarily putting up points to get blanked against Opelika. But hopefully this game, not taking anything against Eufaula, but this isn't the same Eufaula team that a couple of years ago and last year where both were fighting for the region championship. Eufaula, non-region game, and I know that they'll be excited to play Benjamin Russell, but
I think Ben's Russell takes care of business there, and hopefully going forward they'll be able to start putting more points on the board.
How about Fairhope last week, taking care of McGill-Tulane? Fairhope, of course, was ranked in 7A, but McGill-Tulane started out as the number 3. Well, I don't know if they started out as number 3 team, but they were number 3 last week. And Fairhope opened up with a 28-0 lead on McGill-Tulane. Now, McGill, to their credit, they fought back to make it 28-14, but they could get no closer. That's the final score. I think Fairhope's got a great shot down in Mobile to make some noise. Of course, in 7A, you know who your players are. I mean, it's still going to be who can unseat Hoover. Now, Clay Chalkville may have moved past Hoover in this AL.com power poll, but I don't know very many people out there who would risk everything to take Clay Chalkville over Hoover if they played tomorrow. I think you'd still bet the odds and go with Hoover there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and it's not like Hoover has been getting beaten by, your standard teams. They played the national champion for high school, the number 1 team in the country. So it's not like they're just losing to subpar teams. So going forward, I'm sure that they'll be just as successful as they have been. But when you talk about high school football, the south part of the state in Alabama is saturated with talent and great teams, and especially that Mobile area. And you look at Fairhope beats McGill-Tulane. On any given Friday night, any of those Mobile schools can go down. So when the playoffs come, you see their record, and you may say, they were 3rd or 4th in their region, but they had to play some tough teams to get there. And I think going forward, you'll start to see more of that happen. A lot of your champions outside of Hoover come from the south part of the state.
Congratulations to Helena. I went to Indian Springs High School. Of course, we don't have a football team, but Helena is a brand new high school. They start out first 2 games, 2 big victories. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and again, for a team, especially in high school, where you have to really recruit athletes at this point. You don't have the same numbers as other people may have, and so with a new school starting out 2-0, that's a great thing for them, and hopefully that continues, because if you start to get a little success, and that continues and continues.
Oak Mountain and Vestavia, they play to a classic game. Ends up that Oak Mountain with a 7-point victory in that game as they hold Vestavia from the 1-yard line on 4th and 1 in the first overtime, and deny Buddy Anderson his 310th win, which would be a state record. So that's just a classic game. You hate it for Buddy Anderson, but good for Oak Mountain. Beating Vestavia is certainly a big deal. It always is. This Vestavia team is probably not a vintage Vestavia team, but they were ranked, and a huge victory for Oak Mountain.
Yeah, and the same thing that I said about the Mobile area, you can say the same for the Birmingham area. There's going to be a fight every week, and while Hoover does remain supreme there, any given week, as I said, it could be a loss for any team.
Ramsey had its biggest win since 1972. Of course, they didn't have a team from 72 to 2012, so really that's not fair to say, I guess. But they had a huge win. They knock off Pleasant Grove, who's number 2 in 5A. Big win for the Ramsey Rams right there. And glad to see them back in the mix in the Birmingham area, no doubt about it. There's going to be a huge game this coming weekend. You're going to have Jackson taking on St. Paul's. My goodness gracious, that's one you got to get a ticket early for.
Yeah, and St. Paul's is a team that I think is probably the favorite to win, but Jackson has been also a team that's been very successful. We've seen them make a run at state championships, and they've been there multiple times, and we've seen what they've done in exhibition games, so we're familiar with them. But I don't really see another team who benefited more than St. Paul's, other than maybe Clay Chalkville, and where they are placed in their classification. So they're a team I think that's probably going to stay at the top, but that's going to be an action-packed game, a lot of scoring in that one.
Scott, I know you hadn't seen him play a lot. If for those of you who don't know, Scott Hardy is with the BRHS Wildcat football radio team, along with Randy Lee and Brett Pritchard, so he's always with the BRHS Wildcats. However, one guy that every year I fall in love with some kid that is not necessarily on Alabama and Auburn's radar, but that I would personally love for them to have, specifically Alabama. A couple years ago, it was Derunya Wilson. I thought Alabama take a chance on a kid like that. Before that, it was Amir Abdullah. Look and see what he's doing. Without Amir Abdullah, Nebraska is definitely looking for a new coach, if not this year, in previous years, because he has saved Bo Pelini's hide on numerous occasions. I think Amir Abdullah is just absolutely fabulous. Every time Nebraska plays, I just wait for them to get on offense so I can see him touch the ball. For those who don't know, there was a fantastic highlight of him just carving up the McNeese State defense for what was essentially the last play of the game to win it for Nebraska. Without him, and here's the play right now. Good job, Daniel, pulling that video up. But Mir Abdullah gets a little pass, and Nebraska was in trouble. They had almost just turned the ball over the previous play. They were doing the safest thing they could possibly do, and it turned out to be the smartest thing they could do, which is get the ball in the hands of your best playmaker, probably the best playmaker, if not in the country, definitely in the Big Ten.
Could you imagine how bad as the weekend was for Jen Delaney? It would have been even worse. If Nebraska loses this game, there's no way you can recover from that. The entire Big Ten loses credibility as a whole there, and they almost kind of do it. Michigan State probably still runs the table the rest of the season, but you're looking at, and we'll go into that further in the show, but looking at that right there, that's something that would have damaged the reputation for the Big Ten most definitely.
Well, and Iowa had to fight back to beat Ball State too, so it was as bad as it could be, at least on the surface. It would have been cataclysmic if those two teams had lost, and they were on the verge of doing so. Iowa had to scratch, fight, and claw to win that ball game against Ball State, and that would have been absolutely disastrous. You thought it couldn't get much worse for the Big Ten after seeing some horrendous performances, but it very well could have. But I go back to a guy like Derunya Will. I guess I need to go back and tell you who the guys I fell in love with this year, and that's Keith Mixon for Shades Valley. I think he's absolutely incredible. I know he's a little bit short. He's 5'7"-ish. I know that he's not necessarily got all the speed in the world. He's not a 4.3 guy, I don't believe. But all he is a gamer. And I look at somebody, especially on the Alabama side, and I know that Nick Saban does a fabulous job, and who am I to critique a guy who's won 3 of the last 5 national championships? But we have taken flyers on kids that look good getting off the bus, are absolutely huge, but as far as actual performance on the field, they hadn't necessarily killed it. So why not take a flyer on a kid who might not have all those measurables, but he gives you every single thing he can give you on the football field? I did a podcast today, Talking Tuscaloosa. Check it out, at Talking Tuscaloosa. You can find us on Twitter. Did a podcast today and talked about, who are the 2 most beloved Alabama players of my generation? I think they're Javier Arenas and David Palmer. Guess what they are? Undersized. Neither one of them is an absolute track guy. They just made things happen. And I think Keith Mixon is that guy. Keith Mixon right now is committed to Mississippi State. In my personal opinion, if Alabama were to pursue him heavily, I think he would flip. Maybe the same thing for Auburn. I don't know. But he just happens to be teammates with Darren Payne. And Darren Payne's going to get all the publicity, the 5-star defensive tackle, and he should. Darren Payne's ceiling, without a doubt, is probably higher, especially at the next level. And I'm saying past college on into NFL. Darren Payne looks like the kind of guy who can play on Sundays. But Keith Mixon is the guy who's going to give you his entire heart, and I think he's going to leave it all out on the football field every single weekend. And I would be very happy to have him as a part of Alabama's signing class, and I think a lot of Auburn fans should feel the same way.
Yeah, and Mississippi State has done a pretty decent job of getting those types of players that maybe in Auburn and Alabama weren't that high on, but definitely could contribute, and you see it on the basketball court as well, so we won't even discuss that. But Mississippi State doing a great job there. Derunya Wilson, first game, he comes out there, 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, that they're using these players, and again, the program can benefit from those types of players because Auburn, Alabama can find a place for them, but a smaller school, Mississippi State's not small, but you get what I'm saying on that angle.
It's not smaller necessarily, but in terms of the SEC pecking order, it is. I mean, you hate to say that if you're a Bulldog fan, or hate to hear it, I guess you should say. But they've also got Nick Gibson, another fabulous running back from right here in the state of Alabama. All he does is score between 2 and 7 touchdowns a week. So he's a lot of fun to watch. I think there's another guy that Alabama and Auburn are going to wish that hadn't gotten out of the state of Alabama. I know that both the Tide and the Tigers are recruiting at an incredible rate, and they're both going very national. Sometimes, though, when you go so national, you can forget what you've got right here in the state. And I think Nick Gibson and Keith Mixon are 2 of those guys right there. We're going to take a break here in just 1 minute. I want to thank everybody for being with us here on Sportz Blitz Live. Give us a call, 256-234-6464. When we come back, we're going to have John Garcia from Scout.com. He'll be on to talk about some of these prospects in the state of Alabama. Please stay with us here on Sportz Blitz Live.
impressed with how many great reviews they had.
What makes CertaPro different is that our people really care about making our customers happy.
They asked what they could do to make painting an extraordinary experience for us. And they kept the gate latched.
We work from a personalized written certainty pledge.
CertaPro painters did a wonderful job. They respected our lifestyle and our home.
It's about 5-star craftsmanship and having truly satisfied customers.
Schedule your free estimate at columbus-auburn.certapro.com. CertaPro Painters, because painting is personal.
Bucks Island is one of the oldest boat dealers in Alabama, serving boaters since 1948 with the largest boat showroom in the state. Bass boats featuring Skeeter, cruisers and sport boats featuring Monterey, pontoons featuring Crest, G3 and Voyagers, powered by Mercury and Yamaha. Bucks Island has sold over 10,000 boats and with a full service and parts and accessories department to keep your boat in top condition. Don't buy a boat till you get a Bucks quote. Visit Bucks Island on Highway 77 in Southside or online at bucksisland.com. Give them a call at 1-800-I'm-READY. Bucks Island, where our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
What is LMG? It's a team of professionals with the tools to create a successful marketing plan to help your business grow. LMG has successful designs that get results for the individual and the business. We provide signs of all types, screen printing and embroidery, promotional products, web design, audio and video production, and much more. LMG has 3 locations to serve you in Alex City, Dadeville, and the Auburn Opelika area. Call us at 888-533-6758.
Don't let pests take your house or business over. Wave the red flag. Red Flag Pest, owned and operated by Scott Davis on Highway 280 in Jackson's Gap, is licensed, insured, and bonded, and serves the Lake Martin area, specializing in lake homes, residential property, and industrial property. Call for a free inspection today, 256-825-0430, and visit us online at redflagpestcontrol.com. Red Flag Pest Control, when the problem has to stop, guaranteed. Family owned and operated, Holly's Home Furnishings is the Lake Martin area's best choice for all of your furniture needs. Whether you're looking for something new for the living room, dining room, or bedroom, Holly's has something you'll love for every room in your house. Holly's has a great selection of furniture in the most popular names like Lane, Broyhill, Rowe Furniture, as well as the best names in mattresses like Sealy and Tempur-Pedic. You can even get beautiful home decor, everything your home needs, at Holly's Home Furnishings, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City. Visit their website at hollyshomefurnishings.com.
Hello, I'm Russell Building Supply.
And I'm the big box store.
Box, I don't mean to cut you short, but I've got a delivery to make.
A delivery?
Yeah, Russell delivers anywhere in the local area for free, usually on the same day, and that's on top of our low price guarantee.
Really? Free? Are you kidding me?
No, and if you prefer to pick the order up yourself, we'll load it for free.
And on the same day?
Yeah, we're really good at working on short lead times. How about you?
Yeah, I'm short.
Serving Lake Martin and Central Alabama.
Excitement awaits you on beautiful Lake Martin. Alex City Guide Service can provide you with a charter trip of a lifetime. Licensed charter guide David Hare has over 20 years of experience on Lake Martin, specializing in live bait fishing for trophy-sized saltwater striped bass, largemouth bass, and spotted bass. Call Alex City Guide Service today at 256-401-3089 or visit them online at www.alexcityguideservice.com.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Dark Insurance, offering insurance for all your personal needs, including auto, boat, homeowners, and disability. Don't be in the dark. Call Dark Insurance at 256-234-5026.
Welcome back into Sportz Blitz Live. Luke Robinson here. With me now is going to be John Garcia. John Garcia of Scout.com, one of the national recruiting coordinators. John, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, sir.
Yeah, thanks so much for being with us. I know you've been a friend of the program for a while, and we really do appreciate your time.
No problem at all.
John, I want to start out with a guy that I love this year that I just got through talking about and waxing poetic about, and that's Keith Mixon from Shades Valley High School. I just think he's fabulous. I'm hoping that Alabama picks up his interest in a little bit. Maybe Auburn will too, who knows. But I think Mississippi State has a real steal from the state of Alabama.
Absolutely. You're definitely not alone in that. I think if you took a poll between all the fans in the state of Alabama and probably in the SEC, if there was one kid within the state borders that people believe should have offers from either Alabama or Auburn or both, Mixon would undoubtedly be that kid. Yes, he's small, 5'8", 5'9", $175, what have you, but all he does is make plays. He's a bigger 175, if that makes sense. He's not a skinny kid. He's actually bulked up and added 10 pounds since last season, so he can take a little bit more punishment. He can play running back, wide receiver, play in the slot, phenomenal kick and punt returner. He's a dynamic kid that really fits a lot of offenses, especially in today's game with all these spreads and no look or no huddle, I should say, type of fast-paced attacks. He really fits a lot of what people want to do and what people will want to try to defend. So I think Alabama, is a lot more interested than Auburn at this time. They had him on campus Saturday along with Deron Payne, his teammate and the #1 player in the state, but he did not collect that offer. And he was a little disappointed, and understandably so, but he did, let us know that he is still interested in Alabama and Alabama is still interested in him. So it could be a process that is ongoing and sort of something to keep an eye on all the way through the high school season and possibly beyond. And it could be a matter of one coach or two coaches having to convince another coach that he is deserving of that scholarship offer. So certainly if either of the in-state schools pulls the trigger, it would be, a flip alert or a commitment watch for either of those schools. And that's, of course, no disrespect to Mississippi State. It's just, he's an in-state kid from Birmingham. So usually those guys want to stay in-state if they have those options. So certainly he'll be a hot topic probably from now all the way until signing day.
Yeah, one thing I said before you joined us, John, was that Alabama takes flyers on kids with all the measurables in the world who don't really have the performance accolades on the high school field. Why not take a flyer on a kid who does nothing but win football games and who may not have all the measurables you want? So here's hoping Keith Mixon can garner that offer. Who do you think of all the prospects in the state of Alabama can be the biggest mover between now and signing day?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to go to the defensive back category because that's typically where you see guys make their biggest strides, usually in that back seven, outside linebackers, defensive backs, just the real pure athletes. They maybe add size in their senior season and kind of put it all together. There's two guys that I'm looking at, both in central Alabama and northern Alabama. One is Michael Jackson. Yes, that is his name, out of Spain Park High School, right in Hoover, the Birmingham area. He's a 3-star right now on Scout.com, but he's got that size that everybody wants at corner right now, about 6'1", 185 pounds, and he's a nasty kid. He wants to be in your face and play physical, and he also can clock about a 4.5, so he has that natural ability to not only hit you, but be able to hit you and run with you as well, and natural length as well with, that 6'1" frame, long arms, good ball skills. And then in a similar camp is another defensive back, more of a safety, and Darius Smith, or D. Smith as he goes by, from Florence High School up in northern Alabama. He's another one that's garnering SEC interest and some offers in the conference. Mississippi State, Missouri have come in on him lately. He's got a top group that he's thinking about. Louisville's in there, Miami, Kentucky, a few other schools. But he's one that might even have a higher ceiling than Jackson because he's new to the safety position. Florence just played their second game this past Friday. So he's got 2 games of safety experience under his belt. And I was actually at his first game, ironically, against Keith Mixon and Shades Valley. And for perspective, if you guys know about Keith Mixon, this guy tackled him in the open space 3 or 4 times with no help. And he didn't get outrun by Keith Mixon despite being, 6'2", 195 pounds. So a lot taller, a lot bigger than Mixon, although he's not getting run by the much smaller and a guy who's clocked 4.4 at several camps this past summer. So that gives you the sense of the athleticism that a guy like D. Smith has. And he also plays receiver on the offensive end, so the ball skills are there. Obviously, the size is there, and he was playing linebacker and defensive end on defense a season ago, so the physicality is there. So he's really everything you could want in a safety prospect. It's just a matter of putting it on tape, and he's done that so far in 2 games, and he hasn't disappointed, especially in the 1 game that I saw him. So I think he's the one who could be the biggest riser in the entire state.
And, John, finally, Louisville came in and got another big commitment from the state of Alabama, and Amonte Cabin from Smith Station. They have a couple other guys, one from St. Paul, one from Central Phoenix City, and you just mentioned they have a shot at Darius Smith. Man, Louisville's really reaping in the rewards here in the state of Alabama, huh?
Yeah, Bobby Petrino knows the SEC West. He knows, once that top tier of Alabama is sort of decided between the Tide and the Tigers, there's a lot of very good prospects that remain, and schools in the past like Mississippi State, Kentucky, even UAB and Southern Miss have reaped those benefits. And now he's saying, well, why not get Louisville in the mix there? Like you said, they've got 3 commitments. All of them are 3 stars on Scout.com. And Caban, who they got today out of Smith Station, probably the best one. He's a guy that I'm higher on than most. I actually have him number 7 in my rankings for the entire state. I think he's the second best linebacker behind Darrell Williams, and probably the most explosive linebacker in the state. When he hits you, he really hits you. He knows how to finish, and he does it with good size, about 6'1", 220 pounds, can play inside or outside. He's a bit raw in terms of the intangibles and the instinctive, playing downhill and making the right steps and correct angles, but he knows how to seek and destroy, as they say. He can rush the passer a little bit and even play in space. So he's a guy who I think, a couple of years from now, people might be saying, man, I can't believe Alabama or Auburn didn't get this guy, and he's, an all-American type of guy, all-conference certainly potential with his size, and a real motivated and driven kid as well. So I think Louisville's done a fantastic job, and arguably, after Mississippi State, who has, I think, 5 commitments in the state of Alabama, they're number 2 with 3, and 3 really good ones in Caban. Could end up being the crown jewel of their entire class, not only the guys they pull from the state of Alabama.
Well, John, thanks so much for being with us. Your insight is always welcome, and we really appreciate it. The state of Alabama always very fruitful for not only our in-state teams, but also other teams in and around the SEC. Thanks a lot, John.
Anytime, Luke. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll have John on again soon. Really do appreciate his being with us tonight. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sportz Blitz Live.
In a world that's ever-changing, you have to be sure that your choices are the right choices. At Central Alabama Community College, you'll know you made the best choice. Whether choosing a technical degree program, taking courses to transfer to a 4-year college or university, or being a part of our national championship winning traditions, get a sharper focus on your life by choosing one of our 3 convenient locations: Alex City, Childersburg, and Talladega. Central Alabama Community College. Central to you, central to your success.
Sperlin Recycling is an Alabama-based recycling company specializing in the recycling of metal, aluminum, copper, ferrous, and non-ferrous waste. Sperlin Recycling is available for all your commercial recycling needs, including demolition, on-site scrap removal, and roll-off services. Sperlin Recycling is a family-owned corporation with several generations of experience. Call us today at 256-234-0903 and visit us online at www.sperlinrecycling.com.
When you're on Lake Martin and looking for your own boat, it pays to know what the locals know. Alex City Marine in Alex City and the all-new Alex City Marine South on Highway 63 across from the Mini Mall is Lake Martin's premier Landau pontoon boat dealer and the area's authorized Suzuki, Honda, and Mercury outboard dealer. Alex City Marine has the industry's best brands, and they back it up with the industry's best boat repair with marine-certified specialists that get it done right. Whether summerization or a full overhaul, Alex City Marine has you covered on both ends of the lake. Know what the locals know. Alex City Marine, Lake Martin's complete sales and service center with 2 locations to serve you.
JR Sports Bar and Grill. Mondays, all you can eat fingers, $13.25. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, all you can eat wings, $12.25. Every day, kids in uniforms eat for $1.99. Alabama Street in Alexander City and Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
For over 60 years, East Central Alabama has relied on Jackson Refrigeration for installation and service on all brands, including Rheem, Goodman, and York. Now we've expanded into A1 Four Seasons Heating and Air, a division of Jackson Refrigeration. We still make your comfort our priority and expect our staff to be the most experienced, dedicated, and trained to give you the highest quality of sales and service. When choosing your heating and air company, choose our family of professionals. The all-new A1 Four Seasons Heating and Air, the all-new division of Jackson Refrigeration.
When it comes to providing the very finest in funeral services, there's one name that stands alone. At Radney's Funeral Home, we take pride in our reputation as one of the leading funeral homes in this part of Alabama. Since 1938, our name has stood for honesty, integrity, and quality. These are the principles that have made Radney's Funeral Home the #1 choice when you want the very finest in funeral service for your family. Radney's Funeral Home, the independent hometown funeral home serving Tallapoosa and surrounding counties.
This segment of Sportz Blitz is brought to you by Bice Motors in Alexander City. Brian and his crew offer the latest lines of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram vehicles, as well as the best used inventory around. Guaranteed lowest price. Bice.
Welcome back into Sportz Blitz Live. Luke Robinson along with Scott Hardy. All right, done with high school. We're going to talk a little college. Please get ready and get your phone calls in, 256-234-6464. I know you've got some stuff out there to say about Alabama and Auburn. Let's jump into Alabama first, Scott. Very uninspiring win against Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's a bad football team. Alabama was winning 41-0. The game gets called due to a lightning strike. Alabama never punted in the game. It's funny, as again we were talking on Talking Tuscaloosa, Jimmy Stein and I were, Alabama fumbled inside the 3-yard line, had a drive stall right before the half inside the 3-yard line, and the game was called right when Alabama was inside the 3-yard line. I mean, this game could have been 60-something to nothing. Not that means anything one way or the other. You know, we're going to show some highlights now, and there's Blake Sims on that first play. I'm not sure if that was a designed draw or if everybody was covered. Either way, it was a very athletic. Blake Sims had some very athletic moves in the game overall. But, Scott, I don't know how much you got to see. Jake Coker had his moments too, and I think my cohort Jimmy Stein put it best. Blake Sims is the most likely to not get Alabama beat, but Jake Coker's most likely the one to bring Alabama to victory. Now, and I think what he's saying is Blake's the safer bet right now, beyond the shadow of a doubt. But there were some moments in Saturday's game that made you think Jake Coker's got all this potential that everybody's been talking about.
Well, I mean, Coker looks the part. He's definitely got the bigger arm between the two, but you can see what type of offense there is, like how successful the offense is when Blake Sims is in there. Not to say that it's not successful with Coker, but it seems to run a little more fluid, kind of like with Nick Marshall and Jeremy Johnson. It's just a little difference there, and you said you didn't know if it was a design run or if it was something he did on his own. That's what he brings to the table.
Sure.
And not to say that Coker's not athletic. He reminds me of kind of an Andrew Luck. He's a pretty athletic guy, but Sims is somebody who adds a different level to the offense, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Saban has seen this offense transform into something different than what he's had the last several years, and a lot of that has to do with Lane Kiffin. I think the person who's benefited the most by Lane Kiffin is definitely Mark Cooper. He already, I thought, was one of the better receivers in the conference and probably in the country. This is solidifying that. I wanted to get your thoughts on, is this something that maybe continues, maybe not a spread attack because they're not running hurry up, no huddle, but there's a little more tempo to the offense than what there has been before.
I think the offense is still searching for its identity, really. Amari Cooper, in my opinion, is the leader in the clubhouse for the Biletnikoff Award. I think he's the best receiver in Alabama history over Julio Jones. I think Julio Jones did some great things for Alabama in terms of recruiting, really starting the recruiting machine. But Amari Cooper is absolutely ridiculous. He's got everything you want in a receiver, and I think he's – you know, everybody talked about in the summer, is Alabama going to have a Heisman candidate? Is it Jake Coker? Is it T.J. Yeldon. Well, Amari Cooper is the guy I've been touting the whole time. I just think he's ridiculous. But here's the thing. Right now, they're doing a lot of plays for him, and they're doing a lot of safe plays for both Blake Sims and for Jake Coker, and they're doing some screen plays. And that's what's great about throwing it to, watch this play right here for Kenyon Drake. You allow them to throw it out there. The quarterback gets all the credit for the yards, but really that's all a great block by Chris Black, and then the Jets by Kenyon Drake. And on the other side, the highlight we showed just a second ago was Amari Cooper doing the same thing just on the other side. He got a great block from Christian Jones, and then he turns it on and he's gone. And so you allow the quarterback maybe to gain some confidence, build their stats up a little bit, because players look at that. They want to know, okay, I can do this. I can do this. Here's the one thing that was a little interesting to me. Christian Jones, for the second week in a row, dropped a surefire pass. I don't know if you saw the one against West Virginia, but it would have been plus or minus 50 yards, would have really added to Blake Sims' total, would have helped put Alabama even further ahead of West Virginia, but he drops a surefire thing, and it was a nice pass from Blake Sims. This past week, a little more difficult. Blake Sims rolling to his right, turns back, throws it across his body on the other side of the field, hits Christian Jones in the hand. Now, it would have been a nice catch. It wasn't necessarily routine, but it's a catch that Christian Jones makes 99 times out of 100, and he didn't make it this time. So for the second week in a row, Blake Sims' statistics could have even been better, and he would have been 13 of 14 instead of 12 of 14. That's pretty good for a guy like Blake Sims, who's one of the knocks on him was his accuracy.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to do, especially not to say West Virginia is not a good team defensively, but they're not. Florida Atlantic, as you said, could be one that they'll finish dead last probably in Division I football. So they haven't really played anybody to really test him, but this gets him comfortable for when they do get ready to play a team like Florida. He's got some experience on his belt, and he feels comfortable. And I think you see Coker continue to play a little bit more as they lead up to Florida.
And be careful what you say about Florida Atlantic finishing last in Division I football, because they were only a 40-point underdog to Alabama. Southern Miss, still recovering from that Ellis Johnson bomb they had a couple of years ago, is a 47-point underdog to Alabama. How in the world is Southern Miss more of an underdog to Alabama than Florida Atlantic is beyond comprehension, considering it wasn't that long ago when Southern Miss was the toast of Conference USA.
10-2. Yeah.
I know. We better go ahead and take this caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Luke.
Yay.
Let me ask you a question, man. I've been watching, I still think Alabama don't play in the championship game regardless. I don't care what kind of quarterback they got. But the problem I have is this. Now, the Sims guy been there for 5 years. And he done got his knocks, and he done been there since spring practice. He done learned offense. And then all of a sudden, just because Jimbo Fisher says Jake Coker is a good quarterback, and they bring him in pretty much to start. Everybody can see that. So why can't they just say, okay, Sims, you the star right now. But if anything happens, and Coker come in and does a good job, then we got a problem. Why can't they just name him the starter instead of making it seem like they give it Coker every opportunity, no matter what this guy does, to take his position, to take the quarterback position? That's what it seemed like. Don't get me wrong, they may be doing what they think is right, but to the public eye, it almost seems like they are trying to wait for Coker to do his thing in order to take the job overboard. But the other problem I have is this. If you're going to have an open quarterback competition, then some of them guys, Cooper Bateman and the other guy been over there for 2 years now, how is it that Coker can come in and just overjump them and then make it a quarterback competition between him and Sims, and he hasn't even been there long, and who knows how good he is? I mean, did Alabama recruit him during the CBS?
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the one thing about Nick Saban's recruiting, and it's really hard to complain about it because Saban was fortunate enough to have John Parker Wilson when he arrived, and then he had Greg McElroy for a couple years, and then he had A.J. McCarron, whom he did recruit. And A.J. McCarron was a solid starter for 3 years, arguably the best quarterback in Alabama history. So now that his one Achilles heel may be quarterback recruiting, because some of these guys have not panned out. I don't know why they haven't panned out. Philip Ely goes to Toledo, and he looks like a world beater. But when he's at Alabama, he couldn't do anything right, it seemed like. So, but to go back to your original point, I think you have hit the nail on the head. I think right now what they do want Jake Coker to win this job, and it goes back to what I said earlier. Jake Coker has a higher ceiling than Blake Sims. I don't think I'm speaking out of school there, but
okay, I get you.
Blake Sims is the starter right now, and I don't really have this desire to have Alabama say Blake Sims is the starter when he's actually started both games, and he will start this next game, and I bet dollars to donuts he starts against Florida too. So I feel like Blake Sims is the starter, not just in name, but he's actually starting. So I think that's a big deal.
Right. But at the same time, I'm the starter, but I'm looking over my shoulder because I know they are waiting for this guy to take my place.
Yeah, and I hate to cut you off. We're about to have to go to break, but I want you to hear me that Blake Sims and Jake Coker have handled this so beautifully. I can't even begin to imagine. I'm about like you. I would have a hard time dealing with it if I were either guy. But Blake Sims has come out and a quote, I'm not saying verbatim, but somewhere I'm paraphrasing. He said, look, Jake does everything that I don't do well, very well. I do things that he doesn't do very well, I do them very well. So we complement each other. And I hate to let you go, but we've got to go to break, but I do appreciate the phone call.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Thank you, buddy. We're going to go to break real quick, but Scott, I want to come back and touch on this point before we get into the Auburn Blitz with Andy Graham. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sportz Blitz Live.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
Over the years, S&S Tires has grown into the Lake Martin area's largest volume tire dealer. S&S Tire offers the industry's best brand names: Michelin, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Firestone, and much, much more. The tire pros at S&S offer professional installation and the region's best price. In addition to your tire needs, S&S offers full automotive mechanical work for all your vehicle maintenance and repair needs with the area's most experienced staff. Visit either of our 2 locations on Cherokee Road in Alex City or at South Street in Dadeville. At S&S Tire, we're installing peace of mind for every customer we serve. Every job, every day.
Sperlin Recycling is an Alabama-based recycling company specializing in the recycling of metal, aluminum, copper, ferrous, and non-ferrous waste. Sperlin Recycling is available for all your commercial recycling needs, including demolition, on-site scrap removal, and roll-off services. Sperlin Recycling is a family-owned corporation with several generations of experience. Call us today at 256-234-0903 and visit us online at www.sperlinrecycling.com.
Arctic Air and Heat, located in Jackson Gap on Highway 280. Mr. Darryl Kazai invites you to call him. Now, folks, the cold weather's coming. That's a fact. Now, he is your Rheem dealer. That's R-H-E-E-M. His number is 256-794-4341. That's Darryl Kazai. Ask him about central heating and air. Central heating and air. That's 256-794-4341. Kazaya. Darryl Kazaya.
At Brown Nursing Home, you'll find quality care and comfortable living. We take great pride in our rehabilitation services, including short-term rehabilitation. We offer speech, occupational, and physical therapy, as well as skilled nursing care. Brown is located on Washington Street in Alexander City. For more information, contact Cecily Lee, the administrator, at 256-329-9061.
Hello, I'm State Farm Agent Karen Chanel. I specialize in helping families and individuals like yourself in the Alexander City and Lake Martin communities. With over 20 years experience with State Farm and a dynamic team of licensed professionals, I am committed to helping you manage the risk of everyday life. And we not only consider it an honor, but a privilege to assist you in meeting your insurance and financial services needs. I sincerely look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Sperlin Recycling. For all your commercial recycling or demolition needs, call them today at 256-234-0903 or visit them online at www.sperlinrecycling.com.
Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live, and we will certainly go back to what the previous caller just said just a minute ago, but we have another caller holding. We're going to go straight to that. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Luke.
Yes.
I think Blake Sam is Tebow down here in Tuskegee. I think Blake Sam has done an outstanding job this year. I know there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him, but he's done well with it. But my point tonight is that cream puff SEC schedule last week, and I think that Nick Saban was the only coach that voted for a 9-game SEC schedule. I think the other 13 voted for 8 games. And that's how you end up with all these cream puff games. I'd like to hear you comment on that. I'm going to hang up.
Yeah, thanks for your phone call. Appreciate that, Tebow. We can talk about that for a second. We can talk about the scheduling because I was listening to Sports Call yesterday, and that was one thing everybody was calling in, having a fit about Alabama's strength of schedule versus Auburn. Well, what I always like to say is let the schedule play out a little bit, because right now, who would you rather play, South Carolina or Florida? I'd rather play South Carolina. They look terrible. They do not look very good at all. In Florida, I know they've only played one game and against terrible competition, but they looked very good. I mean, I think Florida versus South Carolina, I'd much rather play South Carolina right now. We may know a little bit more after this weekend when they play Georgia. But I think Tebow had a great point. I would prefer a non-conference game schedule as well. And I think all Alabama fans should. I think all LSU fans should. And I think all Auburn fans should. And Georgia fans, all the bigger programs should. Because it means more of a chance for them to make it to the championship game of the SEC the more conference games they play.
Yeah, and that's true. But when you look at a team, it's easier for Alabama to say that when historically Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Recently, I'm just going to say you guys haven't had to play the tougher side of the East that Auburn has had. Now, granted, Georgia's
no, wait a minute. Georgia's just now come onto the scene. I mean, let's get that clear. In the '90s, it was Tennessee. I mean, I promise you didn't want to play Tennessee all the time with Peyton Manning. Did y'all even play them in the regular season back then? You played them in the SEC title game, I know. And Tennessee was running roughshod over Alabama for a while. And I mean, that's the way it is. And Auburn is I don't think as a university would want to give up that rivalry with Georgia. And I know Alabama fans don't want to give it up with Tennessee. And it's not necessarily just because Tennessee has been putrid over the last few years. They've done that to themselves.
But I guess I'm saying this recent run, Auburn looks at it where they have 7 of the top 25 teams in the conference on their schedule. Now, granted, as you said, you've got to let it play out. If South Carolina loses this week, then they're 1-2, and their hopes for an SEC championship are done now. So that changes it. So, like you said, you've got to let it play out. But looking at it, I would just at the schedule off the top, you would say Auburn had the hardest schedule.
At the top. But who's to say later on this season that West Virginia isn't better than Kansas State? That Kansas State team I saw that played Iowa State this past weekend isn't very good. The same Iowa State team, by the way, that lost to football championship series team the previous week at home. So, I mean, I'm not ready to say who scheduled this and who scheduled that. I mean, Alabama has to play Texas A&M too, and they look fabulous. Alabama has to play LSU. Alabama has to play Auburn. It just so happens, here's the other thing, Auburn's schedule, you talk about inflated. Last year, they were very fortunate. They got to play Alabama and Georgia at the end of the season, both at home. This year, they have to go on the road because you know what? That's what you do. You go on a return trip. Next year, Alabama picks up Georgia. They have to go to Athens. Guess what Auburn gets? At Kentucky. It happens. It's luck of the draw. If you're only going to play 8 games, you're not going to play some of those other teams.
Well, and I agree with that. However, I think that the SEC, I think making these conferences have to choose another game, like a big non-conference game. Go schedule somewhere out of the conference against the other Big 5 conferences. That is something I would have in lieu of the 9-game conference schedule, because if you add another game, so if Alabama had that, then maybe you have South Carolina or Georgia on the schedule, and then that makes it even tougher. Or Auburn has to add South Carolina or not South Carolina, another team in the Florida. So. That's what I'm saying. So when you have to add that, now granted, from a strength of schedule standpoint, that helps you if you're on the top of the conference and you make it to the SEC championship game and the Final Four selection starts to happen, then that does matter. But I think when you have to go through 8 games of the SEC, and especially in the SEC West, where that's just like going through a gauntlet in itself, then I would want some ease of the schedule there.
I agree, but I still go back to, as an Alabama fan, I think it behooves the bigger teams to play more conference games, because your Mississippi States and your Ole Misses aren't going to be able to keep up as much as you are, and I think that helps you. And I go back to, again, all the complaints about the schedule. Hey, look, when Alabama scheduled West Virginia had just beaten Clemson 70-20 something. Ever since Nick Saban's been at Alabama, they played in succession. They played Florida State. They played Clemson when they were a top 5 team, if memory serves. They played Virginia Tech when they were a top 10 team. They played Penn State home and away. And you know what? Penn State wasn't at their best, but that's not Alabama's fault. You schedule them way in advance. You play Virginia Tech again. You play West Virginia this year. You've got Wisconsin coming up next year. You've got USC the next year after that. Who else do you want Alabama to play? I mean, I think they're doing what they need to do. And also play in the conference schedule as well. They had to play at Georgia a few years ago, and Georgia came to Alabama. It just so happens they're not on the rotation. Again, it's Tennessee's problem that Tennessee's not any good. That's all Tennessee's fault. Keep some guys at home when you're recruiting. And I don't think it's Alabama's job to make sure that Tennessee gets their act together, because Tennessee certainly wasn't helping Alabama back in the mid-'90s to early 2000s.
Absolutely. But I know we're up close to the end of the break, but we'll touch on that. I've got some thoughts on that, and I want to dive into that as well.
Well, when we get back, Scott, you can feel at ease. We're going to be a little more comfortable. It'll be Andy Graham in the Auburn Blitz segment. We'll be back in just a minute with more of Sportz Blitz Live.
What is LMG? It's a team of professionals with the tools to create a successful marketing plan to help your business grow. LMG has successful designs that get results for the individual and the business. We provide signs of all types: screen printing and embroidery, promotional products, web design, audio and video production, and much more. LMG has 3 locations to serve you in Alex City, Dadeville, and the Auburn Opelika area. Call us at 888-533-6758.
When you're on Lake Martin and looking for your own boat, it pays to know what the locals know. Alex City Marine in Alex City and the all-new Alex City Marine South on Highway 63 across from the Mini Mall is Lake Martin's premier Landau pontoon boat dealer and the area's authorized Suzuki, Honda, and Mercury outboard dealer. Alex City Marine has the industry's best brands, and they back it up with the industry's best boat repair with marine-certified specialists that get it done right. Whether summerization or a full overhaul, Alex City Marine has you covered on both ends of the lake. Know what the locals know. Alex City Marine, Lake Martin's complete sales and service center with 2 locations to serve you.
When it comes to providing the very finest in funeral services, there's one name that stands alone. At Radney's Funeral Home, we take pride in our reputation as one of the leading funeral homes in this part of Alabama. Since 1938, our name has stood for honesty, integrity, and quality. These are the principles that have made Radney's Funeral Home the #1 choice when you want the very finest in funeral service for your family. Radney's Funeral Home, the independent hometown funeral home serving Tallapoosa and surrounding counties.
If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck or truck wreck, don't let the insurance company knock you out without taking responsibility for your medical expenses, pain and suffering, and car repair. You need a fighter. I'm a former Golden Glove champion, and I will fight for you to get the money you deserve. Call Tripp and put a fighter in your corner.
Call the Walton Law Firm at 334-321-3000 or toll free at 866-321-3330. Put a fighter in your corner.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided is greater than that of other attorneys.
River Region Sports Fields is a full-service athletic field company servicing the state of Alabama and the Southeast, specializing in construction, laser grading, aerification, top dressing, irrigation, and field drainage of athletic fields of any kind. River Region Sports Fields can manage the entire process of making the perfect athletic field for you. River Region Sports Fields. Give us a call, 205-617-4884. RiverRegionSportsFields.com.
Football, tailgating, and an award-winning vehicle from Bice Motors in Alex City. You can't beat this time of year.
Get in the game and score big!
The summer clearance event continues, and all 24 teams have to go.
Coach, they don't know the play.
I told them twice.
Guaranteed lowest price, or we'll pay you the difference in price twice.
Buy it at Bice!
BiceChryslerDodge.com.
Auburn Blitz, brought to you by Dane Sharp, attorney at law, helping injured people get the full benefit of their case. Call Dane today at 256-825-4631.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. We're in the Auburn Blitz segment of the program, brought to you by Dane Sharp, attorney at law. Of course, Andy Graham joins us to talk Auburn football. How are you doing, Andy?
Doing really well. Good to be here with you.
Thanks so much for being with us. Auburn cruises to a win against San Jose State. There were a few sketchy moments right there in the beginning, a long touchdown pass, but overall this game was never in doubt. What were your thoughts on this past weekend's contest?
Well, I think my expectations have gotten a little out of hand. To be honest with you, I sat there in Jordan Air. After I looked up at the scoreboard, it was 38-10 at the half, and I was mad because Nick Marshall fumbles going into the end zone on the first drive. We get a turnover on the next play, but the referees call a face mask, although Ellis Johnson says there was no face mask on that play. So I watched the replay of it. The announcers never even showed a replay of it, never even addressed it. So I don't know if there was or not. But, the second possession, San Jose State has, we have a busted coverage. Joshua Holsey kind of bites on what appears to be a wide receiver screen, and quarterback makes a perfect throw, and 75 yards later it's 7-7. Overall, I never would complain about a 46-point win. Auburn dominated the game. Last year the defense gave up, averaged 420 yards, giving up a game. They've only given up 323 to Arkansas, 319 to San Jose State. So that's really good. I feel really good about that going forward. I'm a little concerned of the fact that San Jose State had 5 drives of over 9 plays. Now, they didn't score but 2 field goals off those 5 drives, had 2 interceptions and 1 missed field goal. But still, it's difficult to get really up for those games. The crowd was, I thought it was, a really good. A couple of years ago, there would not have been but about 75,000, 80,000 people there. It looked like close to a sellout again this week, but you know how these games go. It's just the crowd's not quite as into it as it normally would be, and the game Auburn just is not enthusiastic as much as they would be normally for an SEC game. But you go out, you take care of business, you don't get anybody hurt, and that's exactly where Auburn wants to be right now.
Yeah, and Andy, I'll agree with what you're saying about the population there at the game. That it looked like a sellout, especially for it to be San Jose State. It wasn't necessarily somebody I thought that a lot of people would be there for, but a lot more showed up, especially for it to be on ESPN. But as you said, defensively, they didn't really play that bad. They had some long drives occur, but what do you think the biggest area of concern? I mean, we've been giving up so many big plays Auburn has. What and how can they address that going forward?
I think the secondary is the issue right now. I thought the defensive line played better. We had 4 sacks. We improved in that area. Certainly, that's what we wanted to see, more of a pass rush. I thought Montravius Adams stepped up and is developing into that really dominant interior defensive lineman that every SEC team covets. I just think the secondary needs more. They just need to get better overall. Trevon Reed is new to the position. He's got a lot of talent, but he just hasn't played cornerback in quite a while since high school. He got burned the first week, time or two. He got burned this week, but thank goodness the pass that I think could have been a touchdown was thrown out of bounds. I thought Jonathan Jones played well. I thought I think the Jurich completed 2 passes, one that went for 75, one I think was like a little over 40. So most of his yardage was on 2 throws, and they were really both 2 perfect throws. I thought Jonathan Jones could not have covered the receiver any better than he did. But Jermaine Whitehead, Whitehead is playing a lot better this year. He's got 2 interceptions. Overall, the secondary with 3 interceptions, that's a great thing. But it just seems like there's a little too much miscommunication right now. As far as the front 7, I feel like we've improved a great deal as far as linebacker play. But overall, the defense probably needs to shore up, just like everybody else, as you move forward in the season. But moving forward, I would think that the secondary right now is my biggest concern.
Well, we're here with Andy Graham, and Andy, the rushing attack seems to be picking up right where it left off last year with over 350 yards rushing in this game. Nick Marshall goes for over 100 yards. Cap goes for over 100 yards. Rock Thomas gets involved, gets a touchdown. Corey Grant goes for almost 90. So there's a stable of running backs there, but do you see a situation where maybe by game 6 or 7, Rock Thomas is the featured back?
No, I don't. I like Cameron Artis-Payne right now. He's leading the SEC in rushing. He's leading the SEC in touchdowns. I think he's got what it takes. I like the fact that he's lost 10 pounds. He looks quicker. I think he's still a powerful runner. I think that he's going to be the featured back for this season. Now, he and Corey Grant both. Number one, them being seniors because they have so much experience and running behind this pretty massive offensive line. I think until something happens or maybe if something happens that is heretofore unseen, I don't see Rock Thomas. I see Rock Thomas being a complementary player. He and Peyton Barber both getting in now. Will he have a bigger role down toward the middle of the season? Probably so. I would hope so. I think in this rough and tumble SEC, you need 4 tailbacks because just to keep everybody healthy, so no one guy has to take all the punishment. You look back last year, and Trey Mason, it's kind of he is again I say he may be even more underappreciated than I even realized because of his toughness, the abuse that he took, how many carries he took in any one game. I think it'll be a little more spread out this year, but I'm a believer right now in Cameron Artis-Payne. I think he's done enough in these first 2 games to convince me that if he hangs on the ball, if he consistently and does not turn it over, I think he's the guy.
Andy, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I want to thank Dane Sharp, attorney at law, for sponsoring your segment. Really do appreciate your time, bud.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
That was Andy Graham with the Auburn Blitz. He's with us every single week here on Sports Blitz Live. We're going to go to another break. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sports Blitz Live.
Bradbury Medical Equipment serves the Lake Martin area's needs with durable medical equipment and respiratory care. Bradbury Medical Equipment is home-owned and operated, providing skilled, qualified, and professional people to set up and deliver all of their equipment. Bradbury Medical Equipment provides 24-hour service and will file all insurance claims, making claims trouble-free. Located on Airport Drive in Alexander City, Bradbury Medical Equipment, a history of neighborly care. Call them today at 256-215-8654.
JR's Catering is your premier choice for catering for any occasion in the Lake Martin area. Their quality food service can cater any event from banquets, family celebrations, charity events, political gatherings, as well as corporate catering. For delicious food of any kind and great service, call on JR's Catering today at 256-329-2328.
Hello, I'm Russell Building Supply.
And I'm the big box store.
Box, I don't mean to cut you short, but I've got a delivery to make.
A delivery?
Yeah, Russell delivers anywhere in the local area for free, usually on the same day, and that's on top of our low price guarantee.
Really? Free? Are you kidding me?
No, and if you prefer to pick the order up yourself, we'll load it for free.
And on the same day?
Yeah, we're really good at working on short lead times. How about you?
Yeah, I'm short.
Serving Lake Martin and Central Alabama.
Over the years, S&S Tire has grown into the Lake Martin area's largest volume tire dealer. S&S Tire offers the industry's best brand names: Michelin, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Firestone, and much, much more. The tire pros at S&S offer professional installation and the region's best price. In addition to your tire needs, S&S offers full automotive mechanical work for all your vehicle maintenance and repair needs with the area's most experienced staff. Visit either of our 2 locations on Cherokee Road in Alex City or at South Street in Dadeville. At S&S Tire, we're installing peace of mind for every customer we serve. Every job, every day.
In this moment, you want a team that stands behind you so you can perform your best. At Auto Owners Insurance, it's how we do business every day. Because along with our independent agents, no one works harder to keep you in the game. Auto Owners Insurance.
Call Dark Insurance today, 256-234-5026.
Lila's Engraving, celebrating 20 years of business in Alexander City, is proud to supply the Lake Martin area with all of its trophies, plaques, name tags, and any other engraving needs. Lila's also specializes in custom framing of any size picture or portrait. Lila's Engraving has been and continues to be a proud sponsor of Lake Martin area athletics. So go by and see or call Lila's Engraving at 256-234-6004.
Hey everybody, and welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. I want to thank Christy Long for tweeting out there. She said a little more Auburn talk, a little less Bama talk, and Luke needs a blue shirt bad, and that's not going to happen tonight. But, you know, look, we try and mix it up as best we can around here. And if you would like to talk any more Auburn, any more Alabama, any UAB, look, give UAB some props. They look pretty good against Mississippi State the other day. Bill Clark has come in there and absolutely transformed the mindset of that program. That is not easy to do, especially at UAB. UAB arguably was one of the bottom 5 programs in the country these last few years, and Bill Clark comes in there, turns things around. In my opinion, Bill Clark probably won't be at UAB very long if some other schools are smart. We're going to go ahead and take another caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Is it Brian?
Hey, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Alabama got Southern Mississippi this weekend.
They do have Southern Mississippi this weekend. You're dead on.
I got Alabama winning about 38-10.
38-10. Well, Brian, you got anything else for us?
Georgia 27, South Carolina 30.
Okay, so South Carolina beats Georgia. Thank you, Brian. That was Brian. He calls in every week. Always lets us know who Alabama's playing the next week. Thank goodness.
Yeah, even without you, we'd know it because of Brian. There you go.
Well, going back to UAB for just a second, I thought they had an incredibly admirable showing. Now, you know, Mississippi State probably didn't give them their best shot. I guess you could make that argument. But I'm going to give a lot of props to UAB. They've got a kid named Cameron Blankenship from right here in Alexander City. And so I'm always pulling for him. But UAB, they ran roughshod over Southern Mississippi, and the very next week, UAB gives them all they can handle.
Yeah, and again, Bill Clark comes in. I think they finally have somebody who understands recruiting. That's going to be part of it. They've changed the mindset of the program, and from a recruiting standpoint, I think he's doing a better job of marketing the program than what's been done before. That's the biggest thing. Now it's more than just if you have a good football program, football team or not, or what your coaching pedigree is. That matters, but it's about whether or not it's going to a cool place to play, whether or not you have a good facility, whether or not I'm going to be able to go to the next level. And so I think Bill Clark understands that, and hopefully that becomes better of an opponent than what they have been in the past.
If I were running that program, I would turn my entire focus to somebody like a Keith Mixon, somebody in the Birmingham area who can electrify, who can draw some people in. I'd recruit as close to home as absolutely possible. Now, UAB is not going to beat Mississippi State for a prospect right now. But in a few years, there'll be another kid like Keith Mixon somewhere in the Birmingham area, and I'd do everything I could do to try and keep him home. That's assuming Bill Clark's still at UAB. And the way he's coaching right now, I think he's going to get a much bigger gig very, very soon. Because you look somewhere, let's talk about the Big Ten for a second. Absolute joke fest up in the Big Ten. Ohio State, they look terrible. They look awful against Virginia Tech. This is not a vintage Virginia Tech team either. They just looked putrid to me offensively.
I think granted, I think this Virginia Tech team is on the verge of becoming back to what they used to be, but they're not there yet. But Ohio State losing Braxton Miller, it killed them tremendously. And so you hate to have it happen so early in the season, but with him gone, it's going to be tough for them to be able to compete. They could lose a couple more games. I thought that they were a team that would be in contention for the Final Four spot. The Big Ten as a whole is pretty weak. You have 2 or 3 teams that have the opportunity to do something. Wisconsin is a team which
they've already lost LSU.
They lose LSU. I thought that was their one opportunity. If they beat LSU, that was their route to go. I don't think they'd have lost any more in the Big Ten. But again, Michigan State loses, and that was something that was a little closer. Michigan State had the lead there early on, and Oregon comes back, and their scoring attack keeps them in a lot of games. Marcus Mariota, who I think is now your Heisman front runner, to me, if I was doing a poll right now, they would be the #1 team for me. So Oregon comes out and has a very impressive win there and dominates against a Big Ten team that many thought had opportunity to compete for a national championship.
Texas absolutely drilled at home by the Fighting Mormons of BYU, and they looked terrible. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop the run specifically.
Who looks worse right now, Texas or Vandy? Because Texas right now is in a situation where, now granted, this is still some of Mac Brown's leftovers there. So we were talking about that off there, and I really think I was one of those people that didn't necessarily think that Charlie Strong obviously wasn't their top option, but he was somebody that they, no offense to him, they settled for. And I don't think that as a whole they wanted him. And if he struggles like how he is struggling now and continues to do so, I'm still under the impression that there's a coach in Tuscaloosa who would, regardless of whatever has been said, there will be more attention brought to him if there is a struggle like there has been now.
Right, and here's the problem if you're Texas. I mean, you went with Charlie Strong, and he's obviously a pretty good coach. But if you end up having to make a decision about whether or not you're going to keep him, because right now he's complete milquetoast. This is really, I can draw a parallel between this situation and Alabama and Auburn in basketball. Auburn has been terrible forever. They've never been a good basketball program. They've had a couple of spurts of winning one SEC championship. But I mean, they're historically the worst program in the SEC. I don't think that's debatable. And now they get a guy who can help transform that program, a lot like Texas A&M has a guy who has transformed their program. And Alabama, meanwhile, has a decent coach. At least he's got a good reputation. But it is like watching static on your television. I mean, there's nothing about Charlie Strong that screams excitement, and I feel the same way about Anthony Grant. That's if you're Texas, you've got to hang with this Charlie Strong decision for a little bit. And the problem is, while you're doing that, Texas A&M is destroying it in recruiting. Alabama's #1 in the recruiting rankings, but Texas A&M may be making the most noise.
Yeah, they just got a commitment yesterday, I think, or maybe over the weekend, over a list of schools. They're a team that I really think has an opportunity to emerge kind of to where the LSU status is right now. Not to say that LSU takes a step back, but I think that they're emerging as that. And by Texas A&M joining the SEC, that's the greatest thing that could have happened to them. That and the mixture of Kevin Sumlin and Johnny Manziel. I think you see the same thing. As good as Manziel was, this offense exploits talents like no other, and it's very similar to what Auburn has in their offense with Coach Malzahn, which is why I think this offense is something that's going to stay around for a while, because if you're a high school kid right now, you're watching on the screen, and you see on the first game of football season, Kenny the Thrill, or Kenny Trill as they call him.
As he calls
himself. But Kenny Hill goes out there and has one of the best, and has the best performance of a Texas A&M quarterback in school history, and it's against a team that many think or thought was going to be an SEC contender. Now we'll still see if that happens against Georgia this weekend with South Carolina, but they embarrassed them on their home field on national TV. So if you're a high school quarterback and you see that offense, you're saying, I could be that same guy. So I think that's helping and being part of the SEC.
Yeah, that's being part of the SEC is the critical part, I think. There's no doubt. I mean, Texas A&M is in something exciting every week. Meanwhile, Texas is playing BYU, and I guess it's on the Longhorn Network. Nobody saw it.
They isolated them. They did it themselves.
They did all this themselves. You're absolutely right, Scott. And they were their own worst enemy. They got so egotistical that they allowed this to happen. And Texas A&M what they said was, okay, you're kicking me out, not a problem. I'm gonna mosey on over here, and I'm just gonna go hang out in the SEC for a while and see what happens. I mean, it's like being at a terrible shopping center, and then a spot opens up in the Summit in Birmingham, and you get to go over there. And meanwhile, that shopping center, they may have a Publix, but they're going under. I mean, so anyway, it's kind of the same thing. And Texas A&M just, to me, looks great. But before we all sing everybody's praises, let's see how good South Carolina is. It is very likely at this point they open up the season 1-2 when they lose to Georgia. We need to get to a break. When we come back, we'll have more college football talk and your phone calls, 256-234-6464. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sports Blitz Live.
CTE Small Engines has served East Alabama's lawn and power equipment needs with quality products from Echo, Husqvarna, and Kawasaki. But now, CTE has expanded to serve the entire state with full lines of Titan UTV. CTE Small Engines is Alabama's exclusive Titan dealer with full lines of the Scoot, Sniper, Explorer, and Recon series, featuring hybrid electric and gas combo with up to an 1100cc power package. See Alabama's exclusive Titan dealer, CTE Small Engines in Opelika next to Tigertown off I-85. Or shop our full inventory at ctesmallengines.com.
I'm attorney Dane Sharp. If you've been injured in an auto accident, don't choose an attorney simply because they have flashy television commercials and tons of billboards. Call a local attorney who can give your case the personal attention it needs and deserves. For over 20 years, I've handled hundreds of auto accidents, and I take pride in the personal service we provide and the results we obtain for our clients. So if you've been injured, give me a call today and put our team to work for you.
Excitement awaits you on beautiful Lake Martin. Alex City Guide Service can provide you with the charter trip of a lifetime. Licensed charter guide David Hare has over 20 years of experience on Lake Martin, specializing in live bait fishing for trophy-sized saltwater striped bass, largemouth bass, and spotted bass. Call Alex City Guide Service today at 256-401-3089 or visit them online at www.alexcityguideservice.com.
Family owned and operated, Holly's Home Furnishings is the Lake Martin area's best choice for all of your furniture needs. Whether you're looking for something new for the living room, dining room, or bedroom, Holly's has something you'll love for every room in your house. Holly's has a great selection of furniture in the most popular names like Lane, Broyhill, Rowe Furniture, as well as the best names in mattresses like Sealy and Tempur-Pedic. You can even get beautiful home decor, everything your home needs, at Holly's Home Furnishings, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City. Visit their website at hollyshomefurnishings.com.
It's always something. Your car needs a new tire, tuition is due, it's down to the wire. Cheerleading outfits, soccer shoes, football pads, or annual dues. Nellie's in band, she needs a trombone. Good golly molly, you need a loan. Jimmy broke his arm, he needs a cast. You need money, and you need it fast. When life comes at you, Always Money can help you through. It's easy, convenient, friendly, and fast. You'll get the cash you need the day you need it. So because it's always something, remember Always Money. How much can we loan you today?
At the Medicine Shop, we're dedicated to the idea that quality pharmacy care means more than just prompt prescriptions. When you come to the Medicine Shop Pharmacy, you'll be able to count on dependable care from a knowledgeable pharmacist. The Medicine Shop is the only compounding pharmacy in the area, and we offer the shingles vaccine year-round. Bring your prescriptions by the drive-thru on Airport Drive in Alex City, or input them online at www.medicineshop.com, or call them at 256-215-8014. The Medicine Shop, caring beyond prescriptions.
Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson, Scott Hardy. We're still talking college football. I want to know, who are your playoff teams at 2 weeks in? I know it's a little bit premature. We got a lot of games to play. There's no doubt about it. But that's what everybody's going to do. Everybody's going to prognosticate their playoff teams, and so Scott and I thought we'd do it too. I talked about it in the paper. I love right now, I would put Georgia. I would put Texas A&M. I would put Oklahoma. And I had one other team whose name escapes me right now.
Probably Oregon.
It was Oregon. It was Oregon. You're dead on. And my next four would be Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, and Baylor. And those are the teams that have impressed me the most. And I readily admit that the second group, probably all four of those teams are more likely to make it than the first group, because I think Georgia's going to hit a stumbling block. I think we've all jumped on the Georgia bandwagon a little early. I think we've all jumped on the A&M bandwagon a little early. I think Oklahoma's going to have a slip-up, and Oregon, I just don't believe in their coach, so I feel like they're certainly going to slip up somewhere too. So that's not exactly where I think it'll end up, but I'm just basing it on what I've seen so far. Take out the preseason biases. I'm just going with the four best performances I've seen.
I would agree with most of what you had to say. Oregon was my number one team. Big win against Michigan State. That elevates them to number one for me. Texas A&M at 2, Georgia 3, and I have USC at 4. I think the win against excuse me, I forgot Stanford. Yes, that determined who I think was going to play Oregon for the Pac-12 championship.
So you have 2 Pac-10ers and 2 SECs.
However, I do think that there will be 2 SEC teams. I think Oregon stays there, and I'm not real sure about the other team, but I would really say Auburn and Georgia are the 2 teams from the SEC. I disagree with you on Georgia. I think they run the table or either go 11-1. I think it's Auburn and Georgia in the SEC championship game, and the winner, they either flip-flop 11-1, 12-0. I know you may not necessarily see that.
Well, it would be so Steve Spurrier for the South Carolina Gamecocks to beat Georgia this week. It's a huge game. You hate to say that week 3. I mean, it's a huge game for Georgia, because if you lose this game and South Carolina has already been waxed by Texas A&M at home, it's going to certainly affect the perception of you, whether you win the SEC or not. And if you're South Carolina and you lose this game, any hopes you had of getting back in the race are done. I mean, you're 0-2 in the SEC. You've already lost to probably the top competitor in the SEC East, so you have no shot.
Yeah, but I think it's a different year for Georgia. Defensively, Jeremy Pruitt made a world of difference for that team. You can already see it, and I think that's going to be the advantage that they have compared to previous seasons. But when you have somebody like Ty Gurley back there, who, to me, outside of Mariota, may be the best and most exciting player in college football. Now, granted, it's only been one game, but when healthy, everyone knows what he can do. With the stable running backs and skill position players that they have, I think that they'll be in most games, scoring-wise and defensively, they'll be able to hold people under 30 points most games.
Pat Hayden, you brought up USC. He comes down as athletic director from the booth after receiving a text from head coach Steve Sarkisian, apparently, and he comes down to argue a call. I've never seen anything like it. I thought it was disgraceful. I thought it was incredibly stupid for a guy who's a Rhodes Scholar to do something like that. If Bill Battle or Jay Jacobs had come down to defend Nick Saban or Gus Malzahn, the whole nation would be up in arms. I personally would not mind if he were off the committee. See, that's the biggest problem I have with it.
Okay.
He's on the playoff selection committee. I don't necessarily think they should kick him off, but I think what he's done is use up everybody's free pass. No more slip-ups for any athletic directors. That's my opinion on it. We have a phone call. Let's go ahead and go to that. Caller, you on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, this is James again.
Hey, James.
Luke, let me go back to the Alabama question for you. If T.J. Yeldon is the number 1 running back coming out of spring, and we all know Kenyon Drake is the better running back, then why don't Kenyon Drake, why ain't they putting the Kenyon Drake, T.J. Yeldon, Mark whatever his name,
Derrick Henry,
in the running for the starting position? So that's why I said, Sam, no. Every time he go out there, that they don't want him to really to be the quarterback.
Well, first of all, thank you for the call back, James, and I'll answer.
One more question.
Yeah.
One more question for Scott.
Okay.
Scott,
Yeah.
now, I'm an Auburn guy, but why do you feel Auburn is going to beat Alabama when they haven't been able to run roughshod with this offense? Canyon did. We only got them in touch route and number one going across the middle, Sammy Coast going deep. That's not going to be Alabama.
With that, hey, James, we got to run. Thank you, buddy. We'll answer these questions.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, regarding T.J. Yeldon versus Kenyon Drake, I don't think Kenyon Drake's a better running back than T.J. Yeldon. T.J. Yeldon's going to end up being the number one running back in Alabama history, assuming he stays healthy, and that's in 3 years. In terms of yardage, there's no doubt T.J. Yeldon's great out of the backfield. He blocks better, I think, than Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake doesn't keep his head on straight. Straight. There's been some times when he's been in the doghouse. So I feel like the pecking order should be T.J. Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, and that's exactly what it is. Answer the Auburn question.
Well, addressing that, Nick Saban and Gus Malzahn 2-2 against each other, and in the losses in 2009, Auburn goes down and without a game-winning drive against Alabama, then that changes everything. Now, granted, that they were the better team, most definitely, but in 2010, I just think that second half the adjustments were made to the point to where it shows that offense when. I'm not even.
Well, let me also say this: it didn't hurt that both in 2010 and in 2013, Alabama's starting safeties both times were pretty banged up. Mark Barron was very hurt and probably should have been substituted for, and that's Alabama's fault. I mean, I'm not making excuses. And in 2013, Clinton Dix had some issues that nobody even really knew about, and he should have been out of the game. And maybe that last pass to Sammy Coates doesn't happen.
Well, I agree with that, but I don't think he learned his lesson. Actually, the other night, the same play happened to him again, but with the Seahawks. But I don't necessarily think if it.
Oh, you're talking about
Clinton Dix. But the thing I'm looking at, I don't necessarily think it's Gus Malzahn or Auburn. It's the system. This style of offense. Now, you guys do win the majority of the time when you have games, so kudos to that. But when West Virginia did move the ball on you pretty heavily there, and although your starting secondary wasn't there and your starting defense wasn't there, they were able to move the ball. You still have to play a team like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Auburn runs that style. So I will know more so about how that game will play out.
We shut Ole Miss out last year, and I'll tell you something. Ole Miss's offense doesn't scare me as much as Ole Miss's defense. They got NFL players everywhere on that defense. We got to go to break. We'll be back in just a minute to wrap the show up on Sportz Blitz Live.
What is LMG? It's a team of professionals with the tools to create a successful marketing plan to help your business grow. LMG has successful designs that get results for the individual and the business. We provide signs of all types, screen printing and embroidery, promotional products, web design, audio and video production, and much more. LMG has 3 locations to serve you in Alex City, Dadeville, and the Auburn Opelika area. Call us at 888-533-6758.
Show Enough Barbecue. Since 1990, we've been serving you the finest barbecue in Alexander City. Gerald believes in cooking fresh meat daily, and the secret to that is, I'm not going to tell you. Show Enough is just not about barbecue, but also known for fresh vegetables and homemade pies. That's where I come in. I'm Linda Sanford, better known as the Pie Lady. We also do catering. For more information, give us a call at 234-7675.
Folks around these parts have known for a long time that Walls Tire, just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280, is your #1 stop for automotive service and repair. At Walls Tire, you'll always find quality service at a fair price on everything from AC, name brand tires, big or small repairs, routine maintenance, towing, and more. When your car or truck needs to run right, there's one place in the area to go, conveniently located and easy to find. Walls Tire, just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280.
When it comes to health care, Russell Medical Center has always been my choice. When my doctor recommended I have my procedure there, I knew it was the right decision. He knows the kind of expertise, quality, and care I've come to expect. When surgery was necessary, I knew I would be in good hands, and it felt comfortable being treated in a facility so close to home.
Russell Medical Center, your health, your community, your hospital.
Hey, Jerry. Nice yard. I bet this dead wood really hits home for you. The only thing getting trimmed around here
our property values.
Does it ever feel like your yard work is taunting you?
Where you going? The nail salon's the other way.
Take back your yard with professional-grade equipment from Echo. Reliable, easy to use, and backed by a 5-year warranty. Echo. Get serious.
Get your SRN 225 trimmer at Satterfield's, Highway 280, Alexander City.
When you need plumbing service, call on the professionals at A&M Plumbing LLC. For over 20 years, our mission has been to provide the best possible service available in the industry, and we specialize in solving difficult problems. We offer a wide range of services, such as installation, service, repair and replacement of common fixtures, water heaters, toilets, faucets, drains, sewer lines, and septic tank pumping and cleaning services. Unlike many companies, our septic tank services include field line testing. Our knowledgeable staff will be happy to answer any of your questions, so call A&M Plumbing LLC today.
State of Alabama dictates that we talk mostly about high school football and Auburn and Alabama, but there are two huge topics out there, Scott. First of all, Penn State getting a reprieve from the NCAA. The NCAA showing some heart for the first time in God knows when. They have decided to allow Penn State to be bowl eligible again, starting immediately. They're going to give Penn State all their scholarships back, I think, by 2015-16. I think that's fabulous. I thought the NCAA overstepped their bounds, had a knee-jerk reaction to what was no doubt a horrible, horrible situation. But none of the players were involved in this. In my opinion, it didn't give them a competitive advantage. I know USC fans and Alabama fans say, hey, you didn't give us any reprieve when you did some stuff that was really kind of behind the scenes that you shouldn't have done. But that's all in the past. It's still, the NCAA made mistakes then too. It happens. So there's never a wrong time to do the right thing, and I think the NCAA has finally done the right thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't believe that the current team and staff should have been punished for that, and especially Bill O'Brien started it. He got everything back on track, and I know Penn State appreciates him standing there and making sure it got to where it is now. And now you look at James Franklin, with those scholarships being at full blast now and being able to go to a bowl game starting immediately, they have an opportunity to be one of the best. They can be just as good as Ohio State in the Big Ten now. They have an opportunity to, especially the state of Pennsylvania is just like Ohio. They recruit a lot of big players, and so he has connections now and ties to the Southeastern Conferences and high school coaches in this area. So you can see what him leaving did to Vandy and what type of coach Penn State has in James Franklin. So I know he's the one that benefits the most out of this.
I totally agree. Thank goodness NCAA finally did something right. It's been a long time since they've done something that was worthy of mentioning or patting them on the back for, and finally they got something right, in my opinion. And Ray Rice, my goodness gracious. You know, Scott, I'm going to tell you, here's my opinion on this. And this video is kind of disturbing. If you hadn't seen it before, turn your head. It's absolutely awful. This should never happen in any circumstance ever. Okay? And Ray Rice should have been banned for at least a year and probably had his contract terminated the first time. Here's my only problem with this. Are you telling me that nobody saw this before, and now just because of public outcry, we're going to go back and it's almost double jeopardy? I think Ray Rice, you just about can't punish him enough. You cannot do that under any circumstance. And then, I mean, after the fact, my goodness gracious, I mean, this is just about as bad how disrespectful he is. But what's even crazier, this was just his fiance. She ended up marrying him. And she forgave him, so I guess you could make the argument we're supposed to forgive him. I'm not going to forgive him. I can't imagine if that were my daughter what I'd want to do to that guy. But I feel like the NFL, again, they kind of like the NCAA with Penn State thing. Once the public outcry hits, they realize they made a mistake with only a 2-game suspension initially. And then they come back and everybody's contract's terminated when they see the video. What did they think the video was going to show?
It's embarrassing for the NFL. First off, in the age of social media, anything, if you're caught on tape doing anything, you're done.
It's done.
If people don't associate, if they hadn't have seen even just the video of her getting pulled out, that warranted 2 games, and people were out. There was outcry about that, and then which was warranted again. But I agree with you. If you're the NFL, you messed up, and Roger Goodell admitted it. He said, you know what, I messed up here. We'll make a new policy. First time you do anything domestic abuse-wise, 6 games. Next time you're done for life. So he did what he thought was best for the NFL in that regard, but now it looks bad for the NFL that you now only did it because he got caught with the video. If the video's not showing it, he's got 2 games, and in 3 weeks he's just starting running back for the Baltimore Ravens. And so that's the problem. But as you said, she married him too. The whole thing's crazy to me. She came out on Instagram today or yesterday and defended him, and I don't understand how you could defend that. But again, obviously this puts a different face on everything because you saw it happen. So there's a lot of stories that people have that you may not know, and you're just going on hearsay. But when you actually see it, that changes public perception. And
Ray Lewis jumps in saying, "Hey, I can't even. My situation doesn't even compare to Ray Rice." Says, "Yeah, somebody died with your situation." I mean. The whole thing is so bizarre. It only in the world of sports would this happen. I mean, it's just absolutely.
He'll never play again.
And you know what? I understand that. I mean, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole if I were an owner. Would you?
No. And I mean, now granted, obviously we knew what happened. I mean, for him to be dragging her out, we know that something had to have happened. So, yeah. But for them to turn a blind eye to it was a little disappointing. Or black eye too, no pun intended.
No pun intended there. But I mean, it's just a horrible situation, and you don't mean to make light of it. It's just awful. And Ray Rice got everything he deserved. He just should have gotten it the first time. That's going to do it for Sports Blitz Live. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks so much. We'll be back again next Tuesday.
Auburn Urgent Care, located on South College in Auburn and on Enterprise Drive in Opelika near Tigertown, offers convenient solutions to your health care and occupational medicine needs. We offer workman's compensation injury care, and we have a certified DOT medical examiner on staff. It's not about speed, it's about the quality of care. We're open 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekends in Auburn, and 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday in Opelika. Walk-ins are welcome. Auburn Urgent Care. 334-821-3221 in Auburn or 334-749-9191 in Opelika. Visit us online at auburnurgentcare.com. Proud of our past, confident in our future. And for your primary health care needs, visit Family Health Clinic at 1456 Opelika Road in Auburn. 334-826-8951. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
It's always something. Your car needs a new tire, tuition is due, it's down to the wire. Cheerleading outfits, soccer shoes, football pads, or annual dues. Nellie's in band, she needs a trombone. Good golly Molly, you need a loan. Jimmy broke his arm, he needs a cast. You need money, and you need it fast. When life comes at you, Always Money can help you through. It's easy, convenient, friendly, and fast. You'll get the cash you need the day you need it. So because it's always something, remember Always Money. How much can we loan you today?
Hello? Yeah, man, I just picked some up. Wait a second. I think I see some cheaper ice. Hold on one moment. What's going on here?
Man, just get my ice at Twice Ice like I always do.
Well, look what I paid almost $3 for.
Man, you can get a 16-pound bag of ice or fill up your cooler with 20 pounds for $1.50. This is the only place to come.
Just pull up to one of our convenient locations in Alex City, Dadeville, Sylacauga, or Childersburg and fill up your cooler. Lowest price, convenience. That's what you get with Twice the Ice.
Tallapoosa Ford on Highway 280 in Alex City has delivered new Fords for 35 years. Need fuel efficiency with style? See the best selection of 13 Ford Fusions delivering 38 MPG in a new stylish package. Check out the Hybrid C Max crossover, now on the lot, offering roomy comfort with an amazing 47 MPG, rating highway and city.
Hello, this is Jeff Smith with Tallapoosa Ford. I'd like to welcome you to our dealership and experience our low-pressure sales. With non-commissioned salespeople, our sales force is here to serve you.
Visit Tallapoosa Ford, Highway 280, Alex City. If we don't have it, we'll get it, guaranteed.